Hello, Clive.
Hello, Neil, and a hello and a good morning to everybody that's tuning in with us now this morning. We're back. Here we go again. We must have done something right in the first one. I got a few laughs out of it, and bit of chit chat. So yeah, we're back and having another swing at this. So hopefully it goes as well as the last one did, and that you guys enjoy it as much as we enjoy putting it together. Today. We're going to kind of just have a quick catch up what we've been up to over the last couple of weeks since the last episode. And we're also going to take this as a really good opportunity to have a chat and a deep dive with Neil and talk to Neil about his entrepreneurial journey over the last 4 or 5 years. Warts and all, I think is allowed. So we're going to talk about all the good points, the challenges, the down points, and just get a behind the scenes look of an entrepreneur in this day and age. So, Neil, what have you been up to lately since we last spoke?
Lots,
Lots.
lots. Traveling the country, winning a few clients, and generally just being incredibly very busy, all of which I wouldn't change for the world. So last week, well, I'd say 2 weeks ago, I was quite ill. So I continued to work, but I was effectively working from home with serious man flu, which is a really bad condition that males get typically, hence it's called man flu. And I was incapacitated for a period of time. I also had to contend with an injury to our dog, which meant that the dog was going stir crazy in the house as well. So it was quite a chaotic week a couple of weeks ago. And then last week, I managed to get better, and I attended the digital accountancy show in London, in a venue called Evolution, which is in Battersea. So never been to Battersea before, and I'd never been to that conference either. It used to be held in September every year, and that's an issue for me because those that know me know that I have lots of birthdays and anniversary stuff in September, so I can very rarely travel in September. So it was really cool. They changed it to April. They're doing it again next year in April. 2-day conference, all about well, kind of the clues in the name, right? But it was talking about modern technology within the accountancy industry, talking about AI, so things like ChatGPT and machine learning and robotics came up quite a lot. And there was a really interesting chap called Jason Stats who came all the way from America, and he did 2 keynote presentations, and I followed him for a while on YouTube and LinkedIn. So that was super cool to go to that. And if you followed my socials, I posted quite a few selfies. I met with quite a few kind of partners, associates, and some of our vendor partners as well. Many of which I've never met in person before. So yeah, pretty busy, mate. How about you?
Yeah, I I was really good that I didn't make the digital accountancy show this year. I think it's a really clever event. It's like a tech show for accountants and bookkeepers. I went last year, and I was just blown away by it. To be honest with you, just where technology is taking our industry and what the opportunities are that very few of us are actually doing. So that's something unique and something to take advantage of. Like there's loads of those events, but that one's really unique in the space. So what have we been up to the last couple of weeks? I was asked to do or co-host a roadshow event for QuickBooks Online. So, was it 2 weeks ago now? We did the first Irish QuickBooks Online roadshow in Dublin, and we had a good attendance. I think there was about 60 odd people. A lot of them were existing QuickBooks Online users, especially those who moved over from the desktop version. And the whole point and the purpose of the event was to really explain the importance of getting your practice or your business on the QuickBooks or on the cloud, because clients seem to be moving quicker than accounting practices at the minute. There seems to be a flow here in Ireland. Like we're still a couple of years behind. The office is falling apart, but that's fine. We're a couple of years behind where you guys are in the UK. We were playing catch up, and we're getting there slowly. So that was pretty cool to be a part of the event organization as well as hosting it. So you get to see what goes on behind the scenes in terms of setting up the room, the AV sort of thing, prep work. You think you just turn up in the day, you hand the microphone, but there's actually a lot of work that goes in to the background in preparation to lead up to it. So that was pretty busy, and then it's just
I
client
saw
work.
I saw a picture. So was there like 60 people in the room? You just did like live speaking in the room?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a couple of teams to the event. Obviously, there was the product updates and the new features, and we now have QuickBooks Online Advanced that's now available in Ireland. I know it's in the UK there already, but that's going to help a lot of clients who want that kind of move to a mid-tier type of a solution. So that's pretty cool. But then we spoke a lot about the importance of migrating your accounting practice and your clients to a cloud approach. We did then some training in the afternoon, and the feedback was pretty good. It was pretty good from it. So yeah,
It's
that was
quite
really
cool
it.
that QuickBooks have reached out to you to do that. I mean, obviously it's a shame it's QuickBooks and not Zero, but I mean that's pretty good to do, right? So
I don't think we need to get into a boxing match about blue versus
we're
green or anything
we're
like
not we're
that.
not we're
But
not,
it's
we're not,
really,
not going to do software wars, right?
yeah.
So
No, actually, to be honest, yeah, it's really, really good that got the opportunity to, I suppose, be the representative for them at the show with Kevin Barry there as well. It was a really good event. Looking forward to possibly doing more regional mini events around the country during the year. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that comes up. Yeah. So
awesome, good
that's
stuff.
it.
Busy few weeks then.
So
And what about before you carry on? What about the weather? Because it's a little bit sunny here now, but we've had. I was walking the dog in shorts and t-shirt, and then the next day it was raining, and I had a coat on. It's been crazy here. What about you?
it's been pretty good actually for the last couple of days. We bought a lawnmower, we got a strimmer. And just hopefully now we get an opportunity to use the bloody thing and it doesn't pelt down with rain again, which looking outside it possibly could do. So we'll try and get that grass cut whenever we can in between the showers.
Lovely, lovely. Good for you. At least someone's had good weather.
Yeah.
I, I,
So
I
Neil,
would I would say at the digital accountancy show, this evolution venue is it's a kind of like a bit of a warehouse. It's kind of like a typical sort of convention center. And when Jason Stats was delivering his first keynote, we had a thunderstorm. And if anyone's seen it, it's like a silent disco thing. So everybody's got headphones on because it's quite sort of open plan. So like the speakers speak through like a microphone, and then to hear it, you've got to wear a headset. And a load of people were taking off their headsets because they thought it was part of his presentation, like some sort of sound effect, but it wasn't. It was thunder and lightning storm outside, which that was pretty cool. But yeah, crazy weather, crazy weather.
I remember last year when I was there, it was like 30 degrees.
How
Like
many?
30. Oh, don't
Okay.
start again now with this. 30 degrees, Neil.
I didn't even prompt you on that, Clive. That's entirely your own
I know.
doing. I'm not
I'm
taking no
so
credit for
I'm so aware and self conscious of that now. I owe that one to you, and will forever be yours to haunt me with.
that. Okay.
Yeah, it was hot last year, and anybody like you need to go to that show to understand. It's like a disco. It's dark. It's loud. It's got music. It's got laser lights, and it's like a silent disco with your headphones on, listening to the panel discussions.
I put the
It's
intro. I did a very short video clip of the intro on day one, and it was like the presentation screen, and then all the strobes and all the lighting were like swirling around. All the lights came down, and then they played. It's a really well known kind of like early to mid noughties dance track. I used to quite like dance music when I was sort of late teenager, early 20s, just kind of turn of the millennium. And it was an awesome song. I can't remember what it was now. I'll go check it out. But it was like this is amazing atmosphere. It's pretty cool for an accountancy conference, right? Like it's awesome.
it's completely left field, isn't it? Did you have your Coldplay band that lights up every time they were playing music?
No, no, we didn't have.
Ah,
We had the lanyard with like the guest passes and stuff that you could then scan with the vendors and whatever. and to let you in through security. But we didn't have anything else kind of like that.
So
But
last year, when Dan was doing his introduction and speech and the music started, everybody's wristband started to light up in different colors, like Coldplay. So we were all just
okay,
there waving. It was pretty cool little,
it's amazing.
cool
Like
little.
Dan's done so well. It's obviously the first one that I've attended, but I've kind of watched it from afar, and I can imagine a bit like a music festival, the organisation and to get everything kind of curated and sorted must be a hell of a job. So yeah, Dan, if you're listening, great job with that, mate. And he got quite cut up on his intro speech as well when he was talking, like thanking everybody that sort of helped to organise. So yeah, really emotive fella, and yeah, good job. Awesome conference.
Do you think we've done enough to get VIP tickets for next year?
I don't know, mate. I'll let him know. Where's the timestamp on this? Right, 12 minutes 50. Right, I'll give him that timestamp and I'll say just watch this like 30 seconds and see what he says.
Okay, so right, back on track. Back on track. We're here to have a chat with you, Neil. Okay, so the purpose of today's episode was to talk to Neil about his entrepreneurial journey and to give a little bit of background. I know Neil's an accountant with an accounting business, but I think it's important just to mix it with the business entrepreneurial side of things as well. So we're going to just kick into some questions that we've prepared. Neil may know or not know what these are. I'll
I've
have a
not
little chat.
prepared anything. I've not prepared
Okay,
anything.
all off the
This
cuff.
is going to be typical NDC activity. You're going to wing it. You're going to fly by the seat of my pants. Just be kind, please. I don't.
Yeah,
To anyone listening, I haven't got a clue what he's going to ask me. Um, yeah, I've just told him to be nice, and I know that he's going to trip me up a couple of times during this. He's already dropped some subtle, not subtle hints. So yeah, we'll see.
I have a challenge for Neil at the end of this episode. So please do hang around because revenge will be bitterly sweet and served very well. Okay. Okay, so Neil, a lot of people already know you, but for those guys who don't know you, would you like to just do a short introduction of who you are and what you're about?
Cool, thank you. So, yeah, my name is Neil. I live in a lovely little town called Weston-Super-Mare, which is on the southwest of the UK, right on the coast. It's about half an hour southwest of Bristol. Um, Apart from a short kind of period of time when we got our first house, me and my wife, I've been born and bred here, so lived here most of my life. Um, Back in 1983 now, crikey, 40 years old last December. So there you go. And Is that right for an intro? Like I'm married, Carrie Ann, my
Yeah,
amazing wife. I've been with Carrie Ann for 17 years. I've got two amazing kids, Nathaniel, who's 7, and Elilu, who's 10. I hinted about the dog earlier, so we've got Rico, chocolate brown cocker spaniel, who is 3.5. And then we've got Oscar the cat, who's 14, I believe. So he's getting on a bit. There you go. That's
yeah.
me.
So Neil, can I ask, right? How does a guy who does DJ, heavy metal fan, Lego guy become an accountant? Because they're not like recipes for your stereotypical accountant. So how did you end up where you are today? What led you down that road?
Well, I guess I've always been like fascinated with numbers, and I guess kind of like inadvertently telling stories with numbers. So, as a kid, I remember with my Mega Drive playing FIFA, like probably like I don't know FIFA 92 or something. Um, I used to play the game on the console on the TV, but then whenever I would score or like the halftime, full time results, I would write it down in like a little journal, like a pad and pen, just write down the scores. And I'd do that for all of these games, and I'd be doing like a league or something. And then at the end of the league, I would look at how many games I played, how many games I won, goals scored. I'd look at percentage ratios of home and away, like all sorts of like crazy stuff. So I would have been like probably, I don't know, late primary school, early secondary school age at that point, kind of like coming into early teens. Um, and I've always been quite interested with the concept of just business in general. So I guess, the concept of selling a product or a service, and the cost attributed to that, and therefore what profit you make, and like all of the moving parts that manipulate those areas. I've just been really interested, and no kind of like industry specific, but just been very interested in business and statistics. And as I got older, probably getting my first proper job, I call it a proper job, my paper round when I was like 13, 14. I did it for 2 years. I did 241, and I still remember the number, 241 papers delivered every single week for 2 years, with a bit of a break at Christmas. And that's when kind of the concept of money came in. So again, kind of, I used to track how long I did my paper rounds, ratio of houses to hour, that kind of like really geeky stuff. And then I would have variable pay rates in terms of how many pages the newspaper had, how many leaflets were being distributed with the paper. So kind of like factoring in the money side of things, as well as the concept of all the stats and the numbers, just sort of heightened that interest. And then I guess
Just your
just
very stereotypical teenager, yeah?
well, yeah, 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 like girls, and like, I mean, I was really sporty when I was young. I'm still sporty now, but kind of like drink and girls like didn't appeal to me. Like through sort of that stage into the kind of like late secondary school, it just wasn't. The crowd that I used to hang around with were, I guess, more of the geeky sort of kids at school rather than like the popular ones. But that was cool because a lot of those guys I'm still friends with today. So that was kind of like, I don't know, my sort of intro. Um, and then, yeah, I was just about to say, like, there was nothing at school really that was a qualification in terms of money or business or finance or anything like that. So, like, I liked maths, I liked physics, I was quite into geography as well. But there was nothing that kind of tied all these sort of interest points together. And that was through school, and that was also really through college. And there's like a business studies course at college, but it didn't seem that appealing. It didn't look that interesting. And I'd already maxed out my other choices with like the maths and the physics and stuff. So we didn't do that. So my kind of first foray into proper accountancy learning was university. And true story, I started off with a prospectus and started with the letter A right at the beginning. And there was a few kind of like subjects as I went through the letter A, can't remember what they were. And then I got to accountancy, and I kind of like went, wow, it's money, it's business, and it's got some form of like statistical numerical element to it. I thought, well, that'd be quite interesting to do. I thought I'll just check out the rest of the prospectus to see if I'm missing anything else. I got to agricultural studies, AG, and I was like, I just can't be asked anymore. So I went back to accountancy, and it just so happened I did a joint award, so I did half accountancy and half statistics, to sort of cover off the more numerical side of things. And that's it really. That's how I got into the industry.
Very good. And you spent most of your career in industry rather than practice, is that correct?
Yeah, before starting NDC, I had no practice experience whatsoever. I had a couple of interviews, probably in my early to mid 20s. I had two interviews with two separate accountancy practices, one in Weston and one in Taunton, about sort of 40 minutes, half an hour, 40 minutes south of us. And the first one I didn't get the job. The second one I did get the job, but I chose. I had another process ongoing, and I stayed within industry. I stayed with another corporate instead of going into practice. So I had some opportunities, but yeah, like all of my career pretty much has been it has been in industry, and most of that industry work has been with big corporates like multi-million and billion dollar pounds companies.
So your journey from industry to practice is quite unique and different because the normal route would be practice to industry, right? So it'd be interesting to learn how you manage with those challenges later on when we come to that. But just talk about your kind of corporate or industry life, work experience sort of thing, were you really responsible or did you help with the merger for Orange and T-Mobile into EE?
It was all me.
It's all you, right? Okay, that makes
No, no,
sense,
no, no,
right?
no. So I got made redundant in 2000 and crikey, got made redundant in 2008. No, that's a lie. Sorry, I got made redundant in early 2009. It was the first time I got made redundant. Me and Carrie-Anne had just secured a house, which we had to pull out of just before completion, thankfully, or just before exchange of contracts. So I was pretty low at that point. And if you think back to 2009, we had a recession. The world was going a little bit crazy. So I was out of work for, I lost my job in March. I was on a month's gardening leave, and then I didn't get the job at Orange until November 2009. So I was out of work for about 6 months ish. And I had quite a sort of a business partnering type role in the place that I lost my job. And the Orange role was like pretty technical. And I didn't really want to do the technical work because I enjoyed talking to people. So I kind of almost had to take a step back to kind of go back into technical, basically to get a job. I mean, I was living with my parents at the time. Like I said, we pulled out of the house. So from a financial responsibility point of view, it wasn't like urgently critical. But I wanted to get back into work, and yeah, so I took the role at Orange in November 2009, and very quickly, like we found out that they were going to be called EE, and then it was going to be a joint venture between Orange and T-Mobile at the time. And I guess kind of the process around that, certainly from finance or a finance department point of view, the finance hub for Orange was in Bristol at Aztec West. And that's where my office was, and that's where I was commuting to every day. And they just had Orange as kind of the benchmark in terms of sort of the overall sort of EE vision, to be like we want the finance department to mirror what Orange do, not what T-Mobile do. So yeah, there was kind of a big project that kicked off. I was traveling up to Hatfield, just north of London, where T-Mobile's head office was. I don't know, probably like once or twice a month, maybe, with my boss and with a couple of my team. And we were just going up there to basically take over people's roles that were being made redundant, which was pretty difficult because I was like 20, 26, 20, 25, 26, I think at the time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't qualified at that point either. I was part qualified. I think I just about started my studies at that point. So I was going up to Hatfield to talk to like 30, 40, 50-year-old experienced members of staff who were qualified, who'd been in the job for years, to say, look, tell me everything that you know because you're leaving in a couple of months. And we need to understand what you do in order to kind of roll out I guess kind of the Orange sort of protocols in terms of what we wanted the business to do. So no, it wasn't all me. It wasn't all me,
Yeah.
but I liked. Yeah, it was a great thing that I got on my CV. It was probably about a year end to end in terms of that work, and it taught me a lot, not just from a business point of view, in terms of the actual content of what we were doing, but in terms of talking to people. A business that size, like merging together all of the synergies with that, all of the duplication, the systems work, migration stuff. Yeah, it was fascinating to do. Like really technical, but yeah, it was cool.
So you went from there to one of probably Europe's largest veterinary groups. And you're leading the commercial finance function there as well. So you've got a lot of experience in terms of industry, business partnering, and where you work in between finance and the commercial team. Okay. Like, did you enjoy your time working in that commercial environment, I suppose, with the veterinary group as well?
Yeah, the veterinary job was easily the best job I've ever had, and I had a couple of roles there. When I joined that business in 2014, the finance team were 4 people. So you had an FD. No, it was 5. You had an FD, a financial director, a financial controller. I reported into the financial controller. I was a senior, and then there was a management accountant, kind of one tier below me, and then an assistant one tier below them. So kind of the core finance team were just 3 people with then 2 managers. So it was a tiny converted, I think it was an old veterinary practice. It was a converted house in Bath in the city centre. Horrendous commute, probably like 40 miles each way. I was in the car for like 3 hours a day. Um, but I was offered an interview in 2022, in 2012, um, and I went back to say, yeah, I'd love to have a chat with them, and the recruitment agency said that the role had already been filled, which was disappointing. But fast forward exactly a year later, the same recruitment agent came back to me and said, look, they're hiring again. Would you be interested again? So I felt like it was kind of fate that I at least went and saw what they were all about. But yeah, the concept of the business was it was private equity backed. The model was to go out to buy independent veterinary practices that the vendors wanted to retire, or maybe they had cash flow issues, or maybe they just didn't want to do the back office stuff and they just wanted to care for animals. So the concept of selling their practice to a larger organization, they had the synergies of working in a big group. So they had marketing power and uh, call it
The
facilities,
back
but
office support, didn't they?
yeah, they had, purchasing power. So, with a bigger group, we can get more discounts on medicine, materials, consumables, etc. And that just that wider network of, a veterinary practice that might be one or two directors with, maybe half a dozen members of staff, nurses, admin, whatever, to going into a massive group, which at the time in February 2014, there was about 60 or 70 veterinary practices, and the turnover of the business was probably like, I don't know, 50, 60 million. So, I'd left Lloyd's Banking Group to come to the veterinary group. So Lloyd's Banking Group, I was looking at commercial banking, probably like £2 billion a year kind of like
Yeah.
cost base in terms of that. So to come from that to a £50 million company was and like 300 people in finance at Lloyd's Bank in Bristol, like 3 people in my team in the veterinary group. So it was
I suppose
massively different. Go on.
there's a lot of skills to learn there in terms of working with people, communication, management, negotiation. So there's a lot of interpersonal skills that you pick up when you're working in a commercial environment like that across different departments and things like that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And whilst £50 million isn't a small number, comparatively speaking, in terms of an organizational structure, it was like really tiny compared to Lloyds Banking Group. So yeah, so I got that job February 2014, and then went into the finance team. Did kind of like management accounts type work, so like small levels of business partnering with internally with the teams, and also with the veterinary practices, but pretty much just based in Bath, kind of jockeying spreadsheets around. And then
So
go on.
no, keep going. Yeah.
I was just going to say I segued then into the proper commercial finance team. That was just one person at the time, um, and that would have been March 2017, and that was the job that I kind of set aside for myself, because that was the traveling around the country, meeting the veterinary businesses, meeting the clinical directors, meeting the vets, meeting the nurses, and taking profit and loss accounts, balance sheets, financial information, and like I said, telling stories with that information. So, running through profitability, looking at all their KPIs, all their metrics, dashboards, reports, yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I did that job for 2 years, just over, and we grew the team from one person to about 12. And in between that time, we also merged with the European veterinary group to create an even larger group. And some of those responsibilities covered Europe. So, for example, me and a colleague went out to Sweden, to Stockholm, to kind of like learn what those guys were doing and how we can incorporate that back into the UK, or kind of like overall group business. So yeah, 100%. That was like the best job that I'd ever had. It was amazing.
So let's roll forward to the end of 2019. It's this thing called COVID starting to appear in the news and the headlines, and things take a bit of a turn, and your personal and professional career then takes a bit of a change in direction. So like I know from speaking with you over the years that that was a huge turning point for you. So like talk a little bit about the lead up to that, but more importantly about how you made the decisions that you did and how it set you on the road that you're on now.
Well, I guess long story short, I left the veterinary group. I said to my manager, I said I wanted to do something slightly different. I'd done that kind of role and built the team and built the process, and I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different. And he said, well, why don't you come and work more on the European side of things and be more of a finance director and have a large team, and we'll give you a 20 grand pay rise. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. But then I kind of thought about it, and it would have been more of the same. So I turned down a 20k pay rise to basically jump back into a more technical role, because at this point I had a vision of having a business of my own. So the concept of going out to veterinary practices and giving that business advice, that element of the role is what I wanted to keep. Coming back to head office and dealing with, at that point, like 200 people in finance and lots of politics, big business, it turned into Lloyd's Banking Group in terms of like the atmosphere and the corporateness. So I got more technical role as a financial controller. Was sold a bit of a kipper in terms of what the role was. I thought I was going to be there for a year or two to, and potentially build up a small client pipeline that I could do evenings and weekends on the side. And yeah, the role was just not what I hoped it was. It was a toxic environment, very mentally and personally draining, really bad experiences there. Um, and then they fired me on the 14th of January 2020. And it was probably a blessing in disguise, because I don't think I could have sort of stayed there much longer, to be perfectly honest. By this point, I think I probably had 3 or 4 clients ish. Um, my first client I signed in September 2019, very small sole trader client. And then I probably picked up a couple just before Christmas, and then like a couple of tax returns in January, that sort of thing. So like nothing huge, nothing big scale, certainly nothing
Yeah.
that I could run the house or feed the family with. Um, and yeah, like that was it. That was the situation. Like turning down a 20k pay rise and then not having a job all in the space of like a year. And we've never had like a shitload of money. So we like looked at the bank, and I said to Carrie Ann, we've got 2 months worth of cash here, what, to pay the mortgage. So
So
I either have to go out and get a job like within 2 months, or we maybe give this side hustle a bit of a go to see if we can make it work. But yeah, we were seriously like in danger of defaulting on our mortgage, which, never been in that position. Like never had loads of money, but we've always been relatively comfortable. We've always paid our bills. We've never had kind of the threat of red letters or anything like that. So yeah, it's pretty scary, mate. Like, yeah, when I think about it now, like 4 years ago, like is a fair amount of time, but it seems like yesterday.
yeah, yeah.
And
Things.
this was really before COVID was like a thing as well. To be honest, like there's some like rumblings of COVID in January. I remember going to a bar and getting a drink, and like somebody by the side of me ordered a bottle of Corona, and there was some sort of like in joke there. So like it was a thing like in the news and whatever, but I don't think anyone really took it seriously until like middle of March, when obviously the world went a bit crazy.
So Neil, it was then you had your reasons, you had your purpose, and your whys. Okay, so starting your own business is never easy, even for accountants. So, what was probably like the first 6 months? Probably your biggest challenges you needed to climb over,
Um, Biggest challenges.
or initial challenges, I suppose.
I guess I knew I could do the work. I think that's probably, a big barrier sometimes. I didn't have the confidence. Like my confidence was, as you can imagine, like totally rock bottom at that point. But I knew that I could do the work, because I'd already had a couple of clients, right? So I'd invoiced somebody for something and they paid. I was like, holy shit, like they're willing to pay me for doing this, and I could do this. So if I can get more people that are willing to pay me, we could make this thing work, right? Um, so
Neil, can I just jump in there?
go
Do
on.
you by any chance still have your first invoice stuck on a picture on a frame on the wall?
No, but it was for £57.50. And I don't know why it was 50. I think we did like an annual price and I chunked it down into 12 months. Um, but it was a small sole trader. He was a graphic designer. I don't have him anymore. Sadly, he went back into employment maybe a couple of years ago. A chap called Kyle. Um, he was a referral, I think, through LinkedIn or something. Like he wasn't even local. He lived up north somewhere. Like totally random first client to ever get. Normally it's like a family member or a friend. This was a guy who I'd never met, and I still haven't met to this day. Um, just met on a video screen doing graphic design, an area that at that time I didn't have a clue of, all the way up north. So it was totally random. But I should get that frame, shouldn't I? It'd be quite interesting. But no,
I think so.
I haven't. So yeah, so that was kind of confidence was low, but I knew that I could do the work, or at least like the work that I knew. I've learned a lot along the way for sure. Um, but yeah, in terms of challenges, like the first 2 months, me and the wife said, look, we think we need roughly a dozen clients. Like if clients are paying me on a monthly basis, like based on a kind of like an average fee, we need 12 clients paying me whatever that number was a month, and that would pay for the mortgage, that would pay for the bills, that would feed the kids. We wouldn't have anything else spare, but we could survive. And I got to 12 clients by the beginning of March. So kind of the thought process of going back into work, or carry on having a job, because at that point, she's got one of the most stressful jobs on this planet as a stay-at-home mum, but she's not earned an income since whatever, September 2013. So at that point, she hadn't worked for 7 years, and we were talking about maybe her going back into work, maybe me getting a job. But when we hit that sort of magical 12 clients, we thought, well, it's working. So I just need to double down on my social media and just like keep putting myself out there, keep doing waffly video content, keep posting in my Facebook group, which was a thing at the time. We set up in February. And then COVID happened. And I think I looked at her and said, like, holy hell, we're going to lose everything that we've we've built. Such a short time that we've built over, but we're going to lose it all overnight. But it was completely the opposite. We got even busier. We signed more clients than I could ever have anticipated. Like, and the feedback was great. I was doing webinars, I was doing speaking at conferences all the way throughout 2020. Kind of like the personal brand like started to increase. I was getting asked to be interviewed because people were following the story and the journey and everything. It's like quite an emotive kind of story. Like everyone's got their own sob story, right? But and cynically, I kind of played on that a little bit because I wasn't bullshitting. It's what happened.
Yeah.
And you've got to be a certain sort of character and resilient sort of nature to kind of turn the corner and make something work, especially if not for yourself but for your family. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if I was just on my own, that things might have been different, but they were kind of like the driving force for me to get my ass out of bed and try and make something work. But like challenges, like I couldn't see anyone, so like, we were all in lockdown. So again, because I'm active on social media, I was doing the video stuff, so it kind of almost it felt like I was talking to people, or I guess like prospects coming in or clients that we had. It felt like I was talking to them, and they were talking back to me via like comments and stuff. And the webinars were great because we had panels of people that were answering questions on COVID and sort of everything else. So so that was pretty cool to do. And yeah, kind of the cynical, pessimistic me thinking that we would lose everything, it was the opposite. But yeah, like main challenges, like for sure it was not being able to meet people. I was doing everything manually, like billing manually. I didn't have a CRM system, so like meetings, diary management, all that kind of stuff I was doing on my own manually. Website updating for blogs and stuff. And I was still learning, right? So things were getting passed across saying, "Oh, can you do this? Can you do that?" And I was kind of like, "Yeah," thinking, "I've never done this before."
We've all
But
been on that road, yeah.
I I didn't want to turn anyone away because I wanted to grow the business. I wanted this to be a success, and if I kept turning people away, then yeah, it just wouldn't work. So I was doing the difficult part in terms of getting people through the door and having a conversation, a bit like a job interview, right? Like I used to find getting an interview was like difficult, but once I got an interview, more often than not, I got offers for doing jobs, because I like to speak to people and I like to think that I communicate well. So getting the prospects through kind of the easy bit in terms of the comm side of things and social media. And then when they came up with something difficult, I do want to turn people away. So I mean, so many times I was like shit, like I do not have a clue. I haven't used this system. I don't know this tax legislation. I haven't done this submission. Like, I just didn't really know at some points, not for everything clearly, but at some points I didn't really know what I was doing. But then I said, it's the Richard Branson mentality to say yes now and then figure out how to do it after. And the people that were coming to me either had like terrible experiences with older accountants or like previous accountants, or they had no accountant at all. They might have been a starter. So the fact that I was talking to people kind of put me on a like a higher pedestal to begin with. So like from the work aspect, I factored that in, and we could do that over time. But actually, the communication, the personality piece is kind of what sold the dream initially. So yeah, these were just some of the challenges that I had for sure.
Jesus. Neil, we're going to have to do an extended version of this where we edit this down to like 10 minutes.
I know I waffle a lot, like as you know, but
no, because I got loads of questions and some of them are really good. But look at
go, keep going. I'll be quick.
So if I go cut it, that means time to move on, right? I'm joking. Growth and milestones. Okay, so kind of two things I want to cover here, briefly, I suppose, because there's some really cool bits about how you've changed, how the business has changed, and how you've changed later on. Okay, so like what do you see or has been, I suppose, key milestones or even achievements for the business over the last 4 or 5 years?
Well, I guess like if we talk financially, so we got enough clients to pay the bills March 2020 after like a few months, and then I think it was around the summer, maybe like July, August, was the point at which the monthly recurring revenue matched what I was taking home from my previous salary. So those were like the two key metrics I wanted to hit. It was earn enough to pay the bills and then earn enough that I was earning in my job, which kind of then justified the reason for doing something on my own. And then I had a stupid target of hitting 100K turnover in year one. So and I kind of based that from January 2020 when I kind of went full time doing this gig, not from the first point of signing a client. And I don't know why I came up with that number. I just thought it sounded cool, like 6 figures. I'd never had that as a salary, and it just sounded interesting. And we hit that. And then I did an interview with Mark Wickersham, who we spoke about on the last episode, who's the leader of the Value Pricing Academy, who I followed since 2019, even before the business. He wanted to interview me based on that target, so we hit that. That was cool, and then I just like continued to grow. Again, from a financial point of view, like I didn't have a budget or anything for the first 2 years, so we did 100K year one, we did about $250,000 year two, and at that point, at the end of 2021, I hired staff, I moved into an office, and then I had a company car. So like the cost base went up, the clients were still increasing. So I thought 2022, which was the start of the third kind of full calendar year, that's when I first started to really properly budget, like probably take it a bit seriously rather than just like winging it. And yeah, we just continue to grow. I'm very transparent with the team in terms of like the numbers that we hit and like the targets that we set ourselves. If we don't hit targets, like I don't care, like as long as we deliver like an amazing service, and that's all I really care about. But yeah, last year we hit 500,000 in 2023.
Do you find then that it was around that August time that the business was starting to get traction? Do you feel that your mindset towards the business and where it was going then changed once you kind of got to that second milestone of, hold on, I'm now at a stage where I'm taking in as much as what I was when I was earning? Do you think the frame of thinking changed around that point of time?
No, not really. No, in fact, I can like genuinely say that my thought process hasn't changed since day one. I just think that the level of success and the financial implications of that means that we just have more options. Like we can work with more people. I can give more opportunities to team members, both existing and new. But I sit here now today, 4 and a bit years later, and I genuinely have the same service levels as I did from the very beginning. It's just that we've got a few more clients to work with. So yeah, I mean, look, these are some of the financial kind of milestones, for want of a better phrase, and then from a more of a non-financial point of view, like we've won quite a few awards, which has been really, really cool, certainly over the last year or so. 16, not that I'm counting. And then, I've mentioned before, I've spoken at conferences. I've been working with Mark Wickersham, so I'm now a coach on his Value Pricing Academy, heading out to Portugal with your kind self in a couple of weeks to deliver a mastermind session or mastermind sessions out there. So again, kind of like the brand increasing, the financial aspect of that success increasing has opened me up to do other things that isn't just kind of like client specific stuff. Like we do lots of stuff with Zero. Like they took a film crew to our office last year. We did a really cool video around me and the business. So like all of these opportunities that have come up that are like sort of non-financially driven, I've been like out of this world. Been really, really cool.
Neil, if you weren't counting the awards, you wouldn't be Neil Criddle, the guy who was counting the newspapers when he was 13, yeah? So that is you by nature.
There you go.
One area, there's a couple of areas I wanted to chat, like client relationships, right? Okay, so you said your mindset has never changed since day one, and it's been very focused on being a business partner, shoulder to shoulder with clients, okay? So, like, what do you think is the best way, or how have you found is the best way to go and build and maintain those strong relationships with your clients? Because you're very open to meeting your clients and showing, like I know you because I know you're always, the conversations is as important as the numbers, right? So, what is it about you that puts the clients first in your frame of mind or your thinking?
Treating clients' businesses as if they were my own, like
Yeah.
key thing number one. And number two, talking, yeah, or emailing, or voice noting, like whatever. So like have a passion to make sure that my clients succeed, because if our clients succeed, then we as a business succeed, and then that will enable me to do things personally, but also, like I said, give opportunities to the team, whatever, or the community, the work that we do with schools, colleges, whatever. And fundamentally, it boils down to making sure that the clients are happy and that they succeed. I can't do their work for them, and we have had businesses fail, but it's not for want of lack of trying. It's not for want of lack of, trying to help them, trying to communicate numbers, trying to steer them down, a path of business ownership. One of the appeals, I think, where we get a lot of startups through is that, we can do the compliance work, we can do bookkeeping, we can do tax returns, but quite often they follow my journey, or at least they've kind of gone back and followed the kind of the direction of travel, and they're kind of like, oh, well, he's been through VAT registration, he's been through office moves, he's been through hiring staff, like,
Yeah.
I've cocked up along the way, but I've learned from mistakes and I'm still learning to a degree, but we can help with those touch points with other clients as well. So it's that caring aspect, which those people that know me, it's not a facade. It's like, genuinely, I really care for clients, and talking to people, like keeping people engaged, being proactive, things which our industry just fail at, like badly. And we are trusted advisors for clients. Like we are the gatekeepers of financial information. Like without cash, without, you can't run a business. And a lot of people don't understand the mechanics behind that. So we've got a really important position to service our small businesses and our clients. And we can't do that if we don't speak to them.
Yeah, it's a very unique position to be in, that trusted advisor position. There is a lot of trust and dependence on you to help a business owner who is probably really passionate and good at what they do, but needs that helping hand on the business side of things and the right directions to take it in. Do you think that mindset or that passion for seeing the client's business as your own business comes from your industry background, where you're working as that finance partner?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Because again, like most of the budget holders in the businesses that I've worked in, or most of my stakeholders, most of the guys that I'm talking about sort of numbers related stuff with aren't accountants. They are not they are not finance professionals. They are vets, or they are binmen, or they are cleaners, or just trying to think of some of the kind of like the weird and wonderful industries that I've been in. They're not accountants, but yet they still need to understand that information, especially if they're budget holders. So yeah, there's loads of synergies there for sure.
So Neil, 4 years on, if you were to take an opportunity to look back, because sometimes in our position we're very fortunate as startups. Well, 5 years in, we get the opportunity to look at people who have made mistakes and not repeat them. But is there one important lesson that you've learned over the last number of years, or in the early part of your of your business, that you wouldn't repeat again, or you might impart some information or advice to other people?
I probably would have hired sooner. So, the first 2 years it was just me. I could have and should have hired maybe like 6 months sooner than what I did. A lot of clients that come to me that are afraid of that first hire, because what happens if things go wrong? What happens if work dries up? And I now say to clients, you've got to stick your neck out and just back yourself, because you've grown it to such a stage already to be in a position to potentially hire. Then you just got to think that you're going to keep going. But I was that person back then in 2021. So yeah, I should have hired sooner. I should have done maybe more tech stuff a bit sooner. I probably did a lot of stuff manually for too long, which then constricted my time. So I could have maybe grown. I've grown the business fast, right? Don't get me wrong, but I could have done things a bit quicker. Certainly in the first year. Yeah, these are the two things I think. Just especially in this age, AI is now a thing. And one of the challenges that I've got is having time to spend with AI. So it's get on board with tech as soon as you can and keep up to date with stuff as well. And then, the hiring aspect, do it sooner.
I think, that first decision to take on somebody is a huge step for any small business owner to make. And it'd be quite a daunting one, and one that needs to be properly...
I took two people as well. So hence the reason for needing to hire sooner. Yeah, I took on two guys on the same day, and actually the same day that we moved into the office as well. So yeah, it was crazy times.
Do you think you mentioned AI, so technology is changing in our industry very, very quickly. So to that end, how important is it in the delivery of what you do, and in terms of business processes?
Yeah, massively, because technology makes things more efficient, but also more effective, which means that we don't spend the time prattling about with spreadsheets and manually data entry stuff. The time saved doing that, because the tech does that, enables us to speak to clients. And the people that come up with, or the accountants that have kind of the box of receipts and invoices kind of mentality, or the guys that don't use software, they might use spreadsheets, but they are frantically in a hamster wheel, churning through all this transactional stuff, and then they never speak to clients. So I think it's massively important to adopt the tech and to kind of help with that side of things. Not even talking about sort of tech around social media and the marketing side, but actually doing the work. It's hugely important.
So now that we have technology, now you have started to build a team, okay? How do you first of all, what would your main considerations be again for if you're hiring somebody? So you said hire fast, right? Not hire fast, that's the wrong thing to say. But if you were to do it again, what advice would you give to other accountancy businesses that are growing, or even just businesses themselves about?
Well, I think where you were heading with that, I used to say hire slow, fire fast.
That's the one, yeah.
I don't say that now. I say hire fast, fire faster. Because I'm conscious of the fact that I should have hired quicker than what I did. For me, it's personality. So it's no surprise. I've not hid the fact that we've gone down a more junior route in terms of our kind of hiring strategy, if you want to call it that. But what I have done is I've hired people with amazing personalities that are really, that have kind of that level of care and that degree of kind of service with other people. They might not be as technically advanced, or theoretically they might not know the systems, but all that stuff you can teach, right? So for me,
Absolutely.
like training someone up to a level where they can do the work with the systems, that takes time, and that will take more time than somebody coming in that might be experienced. But I can do that relatively easily. What I can't do is hire someone that can hit the ground running and they're like an arsehole with clients. So,
Yeah,
and you can't change that either, I would say. So for me,
I'd agree.
um,
Yeah,
whenever I've gone through a hiring kind of like whenever we've had a vacancy, whenever I've put up a post saying like we need help, people that come to me, I meet with them. If I like them and I get the feeling that they'd be really good with clients, I make a decision kind of right there and then. I want to work with you. Touch wood, it's worked out pretty well. And actually, one of the hires that I did, I think they're watching now because they don't work on a Friday. We met twice. We had two different chats. We did some negotiation, and I sent her a contract. And then they sent me an email saying, "Here's the contract signed. Oh, by the way, would you like to look at my CV?" So that kind of tells you a little bit about how I kind of like to hire
yeah,
based on
yeah.
personality.
Like I get that. I think the people and the person and their approach and attitude is probably more important than the actual technical competencies or the abilities, because as you said, that can be all trained in. Like I recently had a story from another accountant who took on somebody to help with their IT or digital transformation with their clients. And she was an Irish dancer. She had no experience with like IT, with QuickBooks, with accountancy practices. But what she was really good, she was a really good people person. So he took her on over COVID, and her job was to get their clients onto QuickBooks Online. So she would spend time with them on the phone, help them set up the apps, but really patient, really easygoing, understanding, and the clients loved it, right?
Hmm.
And then COVID was over, and she went back to Irish dancing. But that business owner, Kevin Barr, he really appreciated that, and that's years ago, and he still remembers such a big impact that she had. She had no technical knowledge of QuickBooks or anything like that, but just a great personality and a great will to do a great job.
And,
So
and the
that,
really sad thing, the really sad thing about our industry is that stereotypically, if like a position, even if it's like a trainee position, opens up, they either ask for experience, or they ask for qualifications. Well, if you're trying to get into the industry, typically you're not going to have the qualifications, or you're going to have the bloody experience either. So if they're being vetted based on a CV basis, they'll just get like torn away, and they'll just be shredded.
yeah,
But those, like some of those people, there could be some absolute golden nuggets in there that could
absolutely.
be in 6 months' time the required level of qualification or knowledge or whatever, and can really help to drive and grow a business. But yeah, that's one of the sad things about our industry. I think that happens too often.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Neil, we're kind of coming towards the end here, so let's talk about a few kind of easier things. Let's start with a work-life balance, right? Because a tendency for accountants and accounting firm owners and even entrepreneurs themselves, they'll work stupid hours, okay? They'll work crazy hours, evenings, weekends, the whole lot. So how do you maintain a kind of like a work-life balance? What kind of outside of, you know, NDC does Neil do?
Yeah, work-life balance is tough. I try not to work weekends. I try not to do too many evenings. So like my core hours, like whatever it might be, like 8 till 6, 8 till 7. Try and like fit in everything then, and then when I get home, it's family time, it's the kids, it's the dog, it's the wife, it's whatever. But things happen, and sometimes I do work a weekend if I've got the house to myself, or whatever, and I do pull an evening shift every now and then. But yeah, look, I do. You said about it earlier. I do some heavy metal DJing. I haven't done that for a little while actually. I'm 40 now, Clive. Like I need to grow out of this. So I do a little bit of that. I coach my son's football team, and I've just been kind of partially volunteered to be their treasurer for probably like the next 10 years as he goes through the age groups. So that happened on Monday. So, and the coaching I've been doing for, I think, probably just around a year now. So that's been really cool to do. Do a lot of stuff with like the college, schools. I did a Dragon's Den panel with my old secondary school. They've got a GCSE where the students, the kids have to pitch a product. So they get in local employers to sit on a panel to kind of judge these kids. So that was really good fun to do. I did mock interviews for year 10 in another school. So I think I was probably more scared than the kids were, to be honest. But that was good fun. So yeah, there's lots of like external things. I said I'm sporty. I play a lot of football. I try and do running. I do a lot of walking. And I like a bit of gaming. I love Lego. Like, if you don't know, then you don't know me, right? But Lego, I love Lego. And I find that a really good mental release as well. It's good for this for stress and for pressure. Get out a Lego set for an hour and build some Lego. So yeah, bits and pieces.
I can definitely agree with the Lego thing. I think that's pretty cool. It's a nice little hobby to switch off, stick something into your ears, listen to a bit of music, AC/DC, whatever it is, and just take some time out of the world, really, you know. So we're nearing the end here, okay? In terms of the future, then, okay. So if we look ahead, like, what does the next? I know it's probably, but we should all do this every year anyway. Ask ourselves the question, what does the next 5 years look like for me? And what does the business need to look like in order to deliver on that?
So in 5 years, I'll be retired. No. Look, we will continue to do what we've been doing for 4 years. If that means that we grow, we grow. If it means we don't, we don't. We'll do the right thing at the right time. Like the kids are getting older. Like in a 5 years time, I mean, Els will still be too young, like 15, 16. But there could be a potential for them to want to do something in the business when they get older. Like, who knows? But like, I love what I do, and I don't really want to change up too much. I want to work with more amazing clients. I want to grow a slightly bigger team to give more people opportunity, but I don't want to look an army of people, right? I don't want to look a massive business. So I want to do it like sustainably, and whether that's organic growth, whether that's, buying businesses and consolidating, whether that's, growing our property portfolio, whether it's doing more coaching work, which I love to do, which, I've done more this year than last year and more last year than the year before that. So there's lots of pillars, there's lots of like different opportunities. The likes of Xero and Sift, like two of the software providers that we use, they want to do more stuff with us. From like an interviewing webinar kind of like case study kind of way of things. So yeah, there's lots of options, I think. There's lots of options, and we'll keep going.
That's not the answer I was expecting. I'm near sure the answer would be, I'm going to buy myself £100 pair of wellies. I'm going to buy myself a farm, and I'm going to be a mucker.
I don't know what to say about that. No, I can't see myself being I can't see myself in wellies, let alone anything else. Yeah.
Michelle says you better not retire in 5 years. So there you go. You're stuck.
There you go. So Michelle is a very valued member of my team. So don't worry, you'll have a job for at least 5 years.
Yeah, there you go. Neil, we've got 3 more things to do, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay. So as an entrepreneur or as an accountancy firm owner, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs or accounting firm owners who are considering starting their business or an accounting business?
Find something that you have an insane passion to do, and then do it bloody well and tell everyone about it. Because without one of those 3 things, it becomes a job, or you can't grow and succeed perhaps in the way that you want. So yeah, find something that you're really passionate about, do it really, really well, and tell everyone what you do, basically.
Brilliant. And I always find any business that has a purpose naturally will deliver and do and succeed very well. The purpose sometimes is more important than the actual business itself. And I found that you see that in businesses over time. So you're very crystal clear in your purpose and your vision to help other business owners, and you're very close to those business owners and your team in delivering those services. And you can see the clearly value that. And that law of attraction is clearly building there as well. Okay. So next question I want to just ask is about community, people, and engagement, right? So on my list here it goes, how important is community involvement and networking in the industry? So you did this on a number of fronts. We got the social media, you got in person and things like that. So how important is community in a post-COVID world where we're now meeting people live in person again?
Yeah, I've never been like a massive networker, primarily for the reason that I couldn't in like the first 2 years, and I still managed to grow the business. So I could argue that networking is not massively important, certainly not face to face. But I did the social media side of things, so kind of like inadvertently, I was kind of like networking through that. So like it's just important to be visible and to be engaging, and you can't do that if you don't talk to people. So I think from that point of view, like yeah, of course, sort of networking is really important. The community side of things, I've already mentioned about the college and the schools. I go out of my way to offer help, to volunteer. If I can give kids or aspiring business owners some insight, some help. I did it yesterday. Drove all the way to Bristol. Spent 2 hours with another accountancy business owner, smaller business than ours, but they wanted to basically learn and understand what we've been doing for 4 years. So I just love to help people. Do you know what I mean? And that could be clients. It doesn't have to be clients. So I think it's super important that like I've got a story to tell and some information that can be inspirational or of use to other people. I am wholeheartedly willing to share.
Last question before I give you my test, okay?
Test?
Yeah, there's a test coming up, okay?
Okay.
What's one thing about Neil Criddle that people don't really know? I took that out of Stephen Bartlett's book, by the way.
One thing that people don't know?
Yeah. Oh, I got you on the spot there, didn't I? It's like
one thing that people don't know about me.
An interesting fact. I don't know, maybe you ran 100 meters in under 10 seconds when you were 17 or something.
Are you trying to say that I can't do that now?
Absolutely. I've seen you in your training kit.
Oh, I. Is that euphemism for something? Well, most people know this, but my favorite band is Metallica, and I met them face to face. I've touched every single member of Metallica 7 years ago. They did an album release thingy in London, and I was working in London at the time, so I stayed overnight and I met all the members of Metallica. But most people know that because I've spoken about it before. Yeah. But in terms of like most things that people don't know, I failed a lot of exams during. Well, I say a lot. I failed quite a few exams during SEMA. I think this little like perception of like, oh, a successful business and like he had a decent career in industry, apart from like getting fired a bunch of times. Like it's like that duck syndrome. Like looks nice on top, but the legs are like paddling madly underneath. And I really struggled. Like throughout college, university, I struggled with exams. I struggled with revision. I struggled with learning because I used to forget a lot, and I still forget quite a bit now. And my team and my family will tell you that I forget a lot. So the exam side of things, I failed a bunch of exams when I was, I clearly passed them all now. I've been chartered for 12 years, but like exams and stuff was really difficult for me. And I don't tend to kind of speak too much about that because I wouldn't change it, because if I changed it, then I might be in a different position now. So I was crap at school, like from an exam point of view.
So some of the scars that we have are the reason we are where we are today, and because of it, we wouldn't be the person who we are. So that makes 100%. A lot of sense, and thanks for sharing that. So there's comments coming in that Metallica are going to be making complaints for being touched. I don't know what that's going to be all about, but just keep your head low for the next little while. So Neil, we're going to end this like you ended the last episode with how do you say a funny word that you can't pronounce very properly? Okay, so I've got 3 words for you. Okay, so I don't know if you
Cool.
can see that on screen properly.
Yeah, I can see
That's
that.
the name of a town
Yeah,
very close to me. How do you pronounce
yeah.
that?
I think that's called Drogheda.
Absolutely wrong. That is Drogheda.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's a silent G. Drogheda. Drogheda. Right.
Okay. This
Right.
is kind of cheating.
No, it's not cheating. It's payback.
Well, it
Right.
is, because I gave you a word that's in the English dictionary, which is like commonplace to Ireland and England, and you just picked out like an Irish town. So this isn't really
Yeah.
fair. This isn't an apples with apples conversation right now.
What's that girl's name?
Oh, that's not even a name.
That is a name. That's a
Um,
very common
is it something like Evian?
name. Oh, very close. Avine.
Avine. Okay. Do I get half
Avine.
a mark
Yeah.
for that one?
Yeah, I give you a hat. Right. Last one. Last one. Then we'll
Go
let
on.
you go and do some work on. Right. Americans can never get this one.
Um,
Give you a clue. It
go
starts with a
on.
Q. Starts
A
with a
Q,
Q.
like Kimi, Kwame.
Quiva.
What?
Quiva.
Quiver.
Quiva. Yeah.
The Irish. Well, you're Irish, right? So I don't need to say anything else. Well, look.
So you can,
At least it's not turd, right? Which we can all agree is a far more humorous word that you can't say.
okay. As I said, that's going to live with me for years to come, right?
Have you got anything else for me? I've waffled for so long. Like everyone's like gone to sleep. They're bored.
No, that's it, Neil. I think that was really insightful and a really deep dive into your journey to where you are now and the business that you've built for yourself and your family personally and for the clients and the team that you're building around to deliver that. Sounds like you've got a great team on board there, really good people who want to share and deliver the same experience that you've been given to your clients, which is super important, key to success. Really interesting to hear how even though you get knocks, that it's still really important to keep moving forward at each time. It builds resilience. You learn your lessons as you go along and you use them to improve what you do. And yeah, like nobody ever gets this right first time. It's not easy. The more knocks you probably take, the quicker those lessons are learned, and the more quicker you build that business to give you a life that you want and deserve. And yeah, fair play to you, mate. You're smashing it, and be interesting to see what the next number of years has to deliver as well.
Thank you, mate. It was liberating, shall we say? And I can't wait to return the favor in what a couple of weeks time, a few weeks time. We're gonna flip this around, aren't we? I'm gonna grill you. And I'll give you a test as well. Like let's
No,
do
no, no,
that.
no. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. That was my payback to you, right? You can't take a payback and turn it into a payback, right?
I'll think of something else.
We'll do that. Neil, it's been a pleasure as always catching up and chatting with you. And I hope everybody here also had a good cup of tea and a few biscuits and enjoyed the chat along with the rest of us.
Awesome. See you later.
Have a good day, folks. Enjoy your weekend.